Okay, hi friends, hi team. This is session 6 Linux Essentials, Linux commands and command line tools. So there are some more commands to be discussed in the session, and some command line tools will be discussed, and I will demonstrate that. What we are going to discuss in this session, let's take a look at some useful commands: converting tabs into spaces, head and tail command, merging line with paste command, breaking line into pieces with split command, translating characters with tr command, working with the duplicate lines with unique and sort command, extracting text with cut command, formatting content with pr command, then command line tools like nmap, telnet, email client, mail, reading messages, browsers, graphical browsers to be precise, elinks is the name of the browser, lftp command, and some list of lftp commands. So before we start, we need to take a look at, there are some commands which you may not find on your system, because if you have done the default installation, you will not find these commands on your system. So I have just installed them. So what is the command to install these commands, which will be discussed in the session? Is the command is yum install nmap mut elinks lftp and telnet. You may not find these commands. nmap is the command which will be discussed in this session. Mut, elinks, lftp, telnet. So let me quickly demonstrate some of the command before we proceed. For example, first command I would like to demonstrate is the executing a command with fork and exec. If I type exec, exec, exec vi, please very carefully you have to observe, exec vi names is a file. Alright, exec exec vi names. Now these are the names which I have. Let me type some number in front of them, and I'm pressing tab key, multiple tab key I'm pressing, and this is let's say some number, another set of numbers. So I'm typing something just to create some data which will be required in my next command. Alright, and I'm pressing 2 tab key after every before the number is pressed. Now I'm quitting and saving the file. WQ, escape colon WQ is to save and quit. This is the VI editor. Okay, I'm using the VI editor to create the file and to modify the file. Now observation starts from here. If I exit from here, WQ save and quit, the moment I press enter key, you will see what will happen. The terminal is closed. That is the point to be observed. Let's open the terminal once again and let's see, verify the same thing again. I repeat, exec names, vi is the editor to edit a file, exec vi names, and I enter my own name also. To go to the insert mode, we need to type small o to open the next line. So I'm typing ram and I'm typing a number here. Now observation again, escape colon WQ to save and quit. Again observe it, it will close the terminal. So why it is happening? It is happening because of the exec command. If you don't do this exec, you simply start the command normally, vi names. This is the normal way of typing the command. Okay, if I type vi followed by names, what will happen? I can type, alright, I can type single character I and start typing, and I type the new name, let's say Yao, and I type a number here also. Okay, and save and quit. This time it will come back to the terminal. So what is the difference between the two? When you execute a command normally, we call it as a fork call, fork, fork. The fork call actually create another shell and start another shell to execute your command. and when it starts another shell, the moment you come out of that command, that shell is closed and you are back to your own parent. So here we have the concept of parent child relation among the shell. In this case, when I typed vi followed by names, it opened the parent, the child shell. A new shell, child shell, is created, and when I saved and quit from names, the child shell was terminated and I was back to my parent shell. So we have a concept of starting a shell, coming out of the shell, coming back to the original from where you started. That is the concept of normal fork call, fork, fork call. Okay. Whereas in case of exec, the parent is replaced by child, means no more parent exists, and the child shell or the new shell replaces the old shell, which actually means that the old shell is gone. You only have one shell, which is the child shell. So if that shell is terminated, you are nowhere. That shell is gone. So you are back of even from the parent. Parent is no more there. As I said, parent is replaced by the child shell. So that is a concept of difference between exec and normal call. So exec command, when started, you start any shell, it is basically a new shell is started as a child shell, and when you come out of that shell, you are back to your parent shell. Whereas normally it is not exec. Okay, normally with exec it replaces the shell. Sorry, I was wrong. With exec it replaces the parent shell, and without exec normal vi, you will come back to the parent. So concept is whether you come back to the parent or parent does not exist and you replaces the parent. In exec it replaces the parent. Without exec you come back to the parent shell. So we have parent child relation, and parent child relation is in fork command. This is one option. Second is nmap. If I type nmap,
Before you go towards Nmap, I just wanted to clarify. So, in what situations do you use the fork shell and organize the exec and just the word VI? I mean, it's clear, but it's not like 100% clear.
use, you are not able to get the use. When do we use it? Makes sense. See, yeah, I read. I'll tell you when do you use it. Generally, you don't use it at command line. You never do that in command line. This is basically when you are using it in shell scripts. Sometimes what happens is you execute a command and you want to terminate the old command, terminate the old shell and start a new shell when you are executing the command. So exec command generally is used in the shell script. So we have not done shell scripting. Right now we have just understood a utility, understood a concept, but not the application of the concept. Application, you will be requiring this kind of situation. You will be into this kind of situation in production in while writing the shell scripts. Shell scripting definitely is going to be important concept, and this fork and normal call you'll be understanding there. All right, fork and exec, there are two ways to execute it. One is fork, one is exec. All right, nmap. Nmap localhost. When you type nmap followed by any host name, it will tell you what all ports are open. That means you are doing a kind of security audit of the website. What all ports, what service are running on those ports, you can verify with nmap command. So on our system, if you look at port number 21 for FTP is open, port number 22 for SSH is open, port number 25 for SMTP is open, right? If I want to check my own website, the Skillpedia, what all ports are open, you can see that using nmap command. It will tell you what all ports are open on the Skillpedia. All right. So these are the ports, and if you see, they are unknown. They don't know what services are running. But yes, we have some of the ports which are quite common. Let me go back, and so many ports are open on my website. Let me see where the ports, meaningful ports are. Yeah, here we have these ports. Port number 7 is open. Port number 9 discard, daytime 13 QOTD, right? FTP is open, SSH is open, FTP data is open, Telnet is open, SMTP is open. All these ports are open on my official website, theskillpedia.com. Same way, if you check Skillpedia classes, skillpediaclasses.in. So many ports are open on this website as well. So nmap command is used to check what all ports are open. For testing and ethical hacking, we use this command for to verify what is the security configured and what ports are left open and which ports are closed. So that is the point. That is the purpose of nmap command. Then we have elinks. Elinks is the browser, a text-based browser. What happens is in your production, you will not get opportunity to work with GUI or firewall browser or Chrome browser, because production servers are mainly text based. No GUI is installed on them. So for the purpose of testing some website or some URL, you need a browser. So what is the browser available when you are working in text based interface, command line interface? And the browser is elinks. If it is installed, you can run it, else you have to install the way I have installed, and I show you that. Now to open this elinks, you can open the website google.com. It will open the website in text based browser, and this is text based browser. Welcome to elinks. Press escape for menu. Documentation is available. For help menu, click OK, and now you see it is just a Google browser, and you can type, go to different links, and here you can type, let's say, the Skillpedia. Now this is what I want to search, and it will unable to retrieve. So let me search another name, the Skillpedia, SKILL. Google search, but why it is not searching? It is quite simple. I'm searching my own website name. Is it not reachable or what? Enter the URL www.theskillpedia.com. Request sent. Now it is searching. Oh, it is searching for the URL if I type, but no, we can search for any term the way we search it. Alright, waiting in queue. So text based browser, it is still waiting, you see at the bottom. So what happens is this concept is text based browser, and you see the name, the website is open, the Skillpedia, MySQL, DBase, RHCSA. This is coming from online. So this is website open in the text browser. So point is quite simple. When you are working with text based browser, alright, when you are working with text based browser, what happens is your website open in command line interface. Alright, command interface, and you press escape key, and then you press Q, or you go to the exit and press enter. And that is what the elinks web browser is. Then comes the FTP, LFTP, and you simply start with help. That is the best thing. Alright, LFTP, and let's say ftp.redhat.com. You start with this. It will connect with FTP server, whatever server name you specify, and you type help, and it will show you what all commands are available. Now what is the purpose of FTP? What is it used for? Let me brief you quickly. Of course it will come into the session. I will explain that. FTP stands for File Transfer Protocol. means when we want to transfer file from one server to another, or from server to client, or distribution of file is done through FTP server, file transfer protocol server. The server is configured, the files, the packages are dumped on the server, and FTP server will help you serving or distributing those files. So FTP server is for the purpose of transferring the file, and the full form is file transfer protocol. So basically it is used for transferring the files. Now I'm working on a Red Hat website now. I'm connected to the Red Hat website. If I use ls command, this will run on my Red Hat server, and I'll see the Red Hat website, and you see the directories pub and Red Hat and SUSE. You see two directories on the FTP server. So I'm working on the remote server now, Red Hat server, FTP server. Of course, it is for the purpose of distribution, so there is no harm in working with such servers. CD F Red Hat. This will change to Red Hat directory, and if I use ls command, remember I am working on the remote server, and these are the commands available on the Red Hat web server, the files and directories available on the website. I want to get some of the files from this server. Alright, if I want to get a directory or a file, I can specify the command get. How to check it? You type help command and you will see the command here. This is list of commands. So get options files, or -o file name. So get command is used to get file from remote server to your computer. Put command is used to send file from your machine to the remote server, right? So get and put and multiple put means mput. You want to send multiple files to the server, you use mput. Same way we have mget also, to get multiple files from the remote location. So sending file is done through FTP server, multiple files or single file. CD is the change directory, but not locally, remember, on the remote server. Cat command to display the content of the file from the remote server. Chmod. So the command, these commands you need to practice, you need to try, you need to search. I must tell you that you are not going to use them in your day-to-day life, but some of the commands you may find useful sometime when you are working on FTP client like this. But of course we have better clients nowadays, like FileZilla is an excellent client. Let me show you. This is also FTP client. LFTP, which I showed, that was a command line utility. But if I want to show you a better utility which we have nowadays, is this utility FileZilla. This can connect to the server with username and password also. And look at this. If I go to FileZilla and I select any website, for example the Skillpedia, Skillpedia classes which you are attending right now. So I go to the URL, I type the URL name here, username and password, and it will connect. And this is a better version where I'll get the local server and the remote server. So this is my remote server directory, and this is my local directory. Local directory means where I'm working right now on my computer, and this is my remote server directory. So I'll transfer the file from here to here like this. So if I select here and right click and download, it will download the file. This is a better option, and mind it, this is FTP server only. Look at this FTP server, right? So this, we have better client nowadays to transfer file, to copy files from remote to local server. So FileZilla, and there are other clients as well, by the way. There are so many clients available to transfer the files. So this is file transfer utility LFTP, E-Link Nmap LFTP. Now MUT is the utility to check the mail, right? When you type MUT, it will start the mailer utility. By default, if the directory with the name mail in your home directory does not exist, it will ask you to create it. And now the directory is created. And now these are the mails on your system. Now, these are the mails which you have received as a root user. From where? You received the mail from this system. You see there are 4 messages. I can press enter key on any message and I'll see the message in detail. So date, from, to, subject, and the contents of the file. Same way, if I want to delete it, I can simply type D. Alright. So this is the mut utility. Alright. And Q to come back to this. So this is new message and this is deleted message. And this is like if I press Q here, I'll be back to my system. Purge one delete message. Yes, the message which we deleted. And I say yes. Now if I type mut again, you will see the three messages. Fourth message is gone. And now you see N is missing because these messages are not new. You opened them once, so they are not new. Alright, this is quite simple. If you want to start a new mail, you can start with uh, new mail. You can no, let me see 1 second. Yeah, Q to come out of it, and D for delete, U for undelete, S for save, M for mail. Yeah, M is the command. You see the commands are available on the top screen. So I type M for sending a mail. So it is asking you to where you want to send the mail. I want to send a mail to Sangwan at localhost. Enter key. Subject, hey there. This is the subject. And now this is the body. Hey Sangwan. Escape colon WQ, and the message is sent. Alright. So this is the message sent, and the subject is this, and the content is this. Right. There is no attachment. Alright. So S for subject, A for attach file, T to, Q to abort, and Y to send. So simply type Y and the message is sent. You see the message sent here. So you may ask you, when we have Gmail, when we have webmail, when we have Yahoo Mail, we have so many mails available, why do we need MUT? That is not the objective actually. Objective is when you will be working on command line at the server side, you will not have that luxury to use your GUI tools for sending and receiving mails. You have to depend on some command line utility, CLI utility, and MUT is one of the excellent utility for sending and receiving mails. If I switch to Sangwan now, su-sangwan, and type MUT here, yes, and now you see I received the message from root user, hey there. This is my message which the root user sent to me. So this is how you can use MUT utility to send and receive mails. So MUT is a utility to send and receive mails. So this is one. Next is, let's see, we have a file here with a name, names. So cat, oh sorry, not here, under root directory. So cat names. Now this is the file, and we are going to do try some commands on this file also. Okay, let's start the session now. The demonstration first part of the demo is done. Second part we'll do some commands and explain, and then we'll come back to this demonstration again. So agenda is clear. I already demonstrated some commands, and rest of the commands of course I'm going to demonstrate now after this discussion. Echo, displaying string of text. We have done this command earlier. Exec, I just explained that. Run an external command that we specify. The new process replaces the current shell. Just typing the name of the program will also run the program, but in that case it will create a new process along with the new shell, alongside the current shell. So that is the concept of by default without exec. It works like this. The current shell, you issue a command, a new shell is started, new shell is created. You close this, you will come back to this shell. So it works like this. So you are back to this shell. When you use exec, if you use exec, it replaces the current shell. You start a new command, it will replace the old shell, and you are the only shell available now. So that's the concept of shell. Export is making a variable environment. I have demonstrated this concept. Export. Exit we have done. Logout we have done. Exit and logout difference is also we have done. Exit will exit from any shell, but logout will exit only from the login shell. We have done that. Exit and logout both terminate the shell. Exit command terminate any shell, and the logout will terminate only the login shell. So logout will terminate only the login shells. That is when you initiate a text mode login. So this is the difference between exit and logout. And I demonstrated this, I remember clearly. We have done it in the past. Now this the file which is open right now, where the contents are shown on the terminal, you remember there are tabs pressed and some number were typed. I created that file for this purpose. This is the purpose. The purpose is expand command. What happens is there are some programs which do not cope well with the tab. They need hard space. Hard space means the space bar key. So the text file contain tabs, but the program need to process the file does not cope well with these tabs, or maybe we just want to convert these tabs into spaces. So that's where the expand tool command created by available or provided by core util package comes in handy. Now we have the file names. Look at this command. The command says expand tabs is equal to 1. That means each tab will be converted to one space. Choice is yours. You want to convert one tab into one space or two space or three space, you decide. You can decide and write here. So expand hyphen tabs is equal to 1. Convert each tab into one space in the given file. So that is the purpose of this expand command, and unexpand will do the reverse. Convert spaces into tabs. I will demonstrate 2-3 commands in one go. And then head and tail command. Head will display top few lines of the file. Tail will display bottom few lines of this file. So better to rather than explaining these commands theoretically, let's take a look at these 3 commands discussed so far, because a demonstration will help you in better understanding. I will demonstrate the 3 commands now. Now here we know that I pressed 2 tab key here. One was here up to here and one was here. So 2 tab key were pressed. So therefore I want to expand these tabs. Expand hyphen tabs is equal to how many spaces? Choice is yours. Now I want to convert one tab into one space, and the file name is names. Now you see there were 2 tabs, so you will find 2 spaces here. There are 2 spaces. You will find each tab is converted into one space, so therefore 2 tabs were converted to 2 spaces. That's the purpose of this command tabs. It is definitely not a day-to-day use command. To be honest, I have never used it. I'm very honestly telling you. But never know when do I need it. Because if my program throw me some kind of error in reading the data, I may have to convert tabs into spaces. It is quite okay to have this. Alright, head command. Head command by default will display top 10 lines of the file. Head pass wd, new pass wd. We have this file here. So top 10 lines are displayed. I give the command here. You display the top 10 lines. Tail command will display bottom 10 lines. New pass wd. Bottom 10 lines of the files are displayed. So point is quite simple. Head command will display top lines. Tail command will display bottom lines. But let's play with our one file cat command only, the names only. I want to display line number 3 to 5. Then what do I do? 3 to 5. Okay, what I'll do is first I'll take head hyphen n 5, that is top 5 lines of the file names. Then I pipe this output to a new file, a new command called tail, and I want to display bottom 3 lines. So first top 5 this command -n5 will display first 5 lines, 1 2 3 4 5, and then n3 it will display bottom 3 lines from this selection, which will be this 3. Output should be this, and you see this is the output. So head and tail command can also be used to specify or display selected lines from the file. What is the purpose of head and tail is to display part of the content from the top or from the bottom. More powerful and useful command out of the two is the tail command, tail. And not just the tail, in fact, it becomes more deadly when you use it with -f, that is freshen, f for freshen. And now you type the names. Alright, and you know what the purpose, what will happen when you type this -f? It will keep on refreshing the content of this file after every 5 seconds. How to verify? Let's open another terminal and send some content to this file. I open another terminal and I'm sending content to this file. Okay, and I can easily send the content with echo command, echo, and I'm sending another name, let's say Derek, and same concept, 2 tabs or some spaces and some number, same, absolutely same. And double greater than symbol means output redirection, but append to the file, and the file name is names. Alright, what this is doing, echo means display this content. Where to display? This is append, means add at the end of this file names. So append Derek followed by this number to names file, and you see the content appeared here immediately. The application, now I must tell you the application. If I can quit from here, Control C. Application of this is when you are actually monitoring your logs. Our objective is MySQL server. Sometimes what is happening is you are starting your service, MySQL service, it is not starting. Sometimes you are issuing a command and it is not working. Good point about Linux is that it record every message. It record every activity. What was successful, what failed, what error you got in a message file. But the starting or stopping a process may be so lengthy that so many messages might be generated, and in that situation you would want that I want to monitor every message as they are generated. So what you do is you type mail tail -f /var/log and slash the message file or the corresponding message file for the service. For example, we have a MySQLD log under this MySQLD log.log file, MySQLD.log file. So this has opened that, right? And see what is the purpose now. If I restart my MySQL server, okay, MySQL server is running, which is you will be ultimately doing, and this training is for MySQL, don't forget that. So if MySQL server I start here and it is failing or it is restarting, I want to observe what exactly happens when you start or stop the service. I want to monitor the messages. So what I'll do is press a lot of enter key so that my screen is blank, and the moment I issue the command I should be able to see what is happening behind the screen and what is going to the log files. So I issue the command systemctl restart MySQLD, oh sorry, MariaDB. I'm using MariaDB, I remember. MariaDB or MySQL, I don't know. Let me try MySQLD. Okay, so systemctl restart MySQLD. Look at this. I give the command here and it is asking shutdown, because restart means first shutdown and then start. So shutdown complete, and now it is starting process. Objective is this all. This is a crucial piece of evidence that when you restarted service, what exactly happened behind the screen. And this is the purpose of tail command with -f. that is freshen the content of the file as you grow the file, as you add content to the file. Alright, control C to come out of it. So tail command becomes very useful in such situations. When you want to monitor some service, when your service is failing, you are not able to start the service, you want to monitor that, you want to track that, you want to find out the errors. So tail command with -f option is a very helping tool for that purpose. So head and tail command, I hope is discussed, is clear. That is the head and tail command. Next, merging lines with paste command. Paste command and cut command needs to be understood, in totality, in a group. You cannot talk about only paste command actually, because cut command, first we need to understand the cut command and then paste command. So I'll come back to this paste command, but the meaning, let me tell you, is we have two files. This is first file. At the first call, single one column or two column, let's say these are the two columns in the file. This is our file A. Okay, file A. File A. We have another file where we have this column, and this is our file B. This is our file B. Now what happens is, I want one second. This is my file B. I want these two files to join, and I want to create a file C wherein I have these three columns. So first column, second column, and third column. I want these three columns in one file, and this file I want to be the file C, the C file. Concept is clear. We have vertically joined together two files to result into the third file. Vertically joining. What is going to be the separator between these two columns and the third column? Here we specify whether I want to put semicolon, or I want to put colon, or I want to put equal sign or space. That is my choice. So that is specified by after -d. -d followed by the character -d equal sign followed by whatever character I want. So that is paste command. So paste command is vertically joining two files. I am repeating one by one again. That is vertically joining the two files. So in this particular case, delimiter is equal sign. You can give any delimiter. Delimiter means separator. So you can give any delimiter to join the content of the file every column. So -d. After that we will understand the cut command and paste command. Split, self-explanatory. Split command. Split command is used to split the file into two or more separate files, which are named according to prefix of our choice. Then what is the purpose? Why do we need to split the file? Okay, the situation is, file is quite big, huge, and we cannot copy this file from one system to another in single hard disk or single pen drive. So what do? We break it into pieces, and we carry each piece separately, and then we join it at the target, at the destination system. So that is the purpose of split command. I remember one initially we used to download the DVD not in one go but in two parts. We used to get the download link as DVD part 1, DVD part 2, DVD part 3. So DVD always used to be in two parts, because the single file is too big to be uploaded or downloaded. Nowadays we have very good speed, so no problem, but earlier this was not the case. Speed was slow. One file, I remember a big file, 1 GB file used to take one day. I'm quite long back, right? It depends on the speed. So therefore in such a situation, what we do is we break the file into pieces and then upload them, and we download them into pieces one by one, so that if the network is network is broken, then what will happen? You don't have to download all the pieces. Only one piece which is currently being downloaded will be corrupt. So you can download that piece plus the rest of the parts. So like if you have 10 parts, you have downloaded 5 parts, 6th part when you are downloading something went wrong and your network disturbed and disconnected. So therefore next time when you connect, you have to start from part 6. That is the only purpose. Network, speed, transportability, copy, size. That's the purpose we split the file into pieces. So, and we can specify multiple criteria, like we can specify the size, we can specify the lines. So in this case, size of the file, size of every part is 50 KB, hyphen B 50 KB, using numeric suffix hyphen D. So split hyphen B 50 KB hyphen D bash PDF and bash underscore, this is the prefix. So prefix is bash underscore hyphen D numeric suffix, that is 01, and the size of each of the file will be 50 KB. Let's try that, these commands, and the paste command and the cut command. Alright, after this I want to see the cut command also first. So translating characters with the tr command, quite simple. Translate uppercase to lowercase, lowercase to uppercase, replace, like for example cat file to and piping symbol, translate all small o to uppercase O, whereas small o is convert that into uppercase O. So tr, here tr A to Z space A to Z means all small letters are converted to uppercase letters. So tr command is used to translate, and this is the unique and short command. I think first let's do some examples that make sense before proceeding. We need to see some of the commands which we have discussed so far. Okay, ls-l. What is the size of our new password file? Oh, this is good one. It's 3 KB. So let's make it 1 KB each, right? So split and then size, 1 second, split, 1 second. Where was the split command? I forgot. Yeah, this one. Okay. Okay, split hyphen B, let's say 1 KB, and then after that file name, what was that, hyphen D delimiter, bash, let me see, PASS and underscore, and I missed that file name. File name was new pass. Alright, now ls-l. Take a look at that. Files are split into multiple files. So the file is split into 3 parts, and each file is of 1000 bytes because 1 KB I specified, and that is the concept of split command, splitting file into multiple parts. That is split command. So basically now if I want to join back together all these files, I can use cat command, cat pass01 space pass02 space pass03. Alright, and in fact they start with pass00, PASS pass0 pass underscore 00. So all the files names you have to put together and then send them to the file name, new file name. So file name is created back. So cat command, putting all the file names together, sending it to a new file, will join back the file again. That is the command. Next was after this, what was the command after this? Cat split command. Okay, after split we were working on tr command, and then cat and sorry, sort and unique command. Let's do sort and unique also. All right. So first let's see the names. What are the contents of names file? Cat names. I want to translate all small a to uppercase A. So piping symbol tr, small a to uppercase A, and you see wherever there was small a, it is translated to uppercase A. Alright. I want to translate all small a to z. So single quote, square bracket, small a to z. Okay. Quote close, single quote start, and then uppercase a to uppercase z. Now it will translate all the small case letters to uppercase. So that is translate command. tr command, translate. So translating characters. Remember, it has not changed the contents of the file. File content are still the same. It has just displayed the content here in the output. If you want to replace the file, you have to redirect the output to the new file name. Alright. Now again let's refer to our file cat names. So if we have some same name, duplicate names, to remove the duplicate, first of all let's create some duplicate in this file. Cat, oh sorry, vi, I need to edit the file, vi, and now let me yy p p p. So I have papa multiple times. I have one papa here, one here, and two here. So let me copy some more names, and this time yy, and I'm copying here. All right, Naya yy p p. All right. Now this I have created multiple entries, duplicate entries in the file. So cat names. You know we have duplicate names in the file. So unique command will remove the duplicates if they are adjacent. That is the point. uniq, and it will remove the duplicate if they are adjacent. Look at this. There were 3 RAM here. So we have 2 RAMs gone. Only 1 RAM is left. So wherever duplicate names were there in adjacent means next, together in continuation, they were removed, but not removed from if they were at different location, like Nana. So Papa, we have 2 Papas still here. It has not removed them. In that situation, what is useful is we should use sort command first. So first what we should do is sort names, and then we type unique. This is the best way. In that case, what we will do, it will first bring the names together, and then it will remove the duplicate names. Now you will get all duplicate names removed, whether they were together, whether they were adjacent, or they were at different locations, because it at first what it has done is it has sorted the file. So this is the purpose of sort command. So sort command will do the sorting, and unique command will remove the duplicate from that. So sort and remove makes it very interesting part. Now let me show you a file, PASSWD. This is our file. Here if you look at every record, first we have the username, then separated by colon, and then we have the user ID, then we have the group ID. Each one is separated by colons. Alright. So I want to display selected columns of this file. So for that I have vertically cut command, vertically cut. Okay, -d, field separated is colon, -f, field number I want first, second I don't want because X is there. first and third. Oh, sorry, I missed the file name and the password WD, PASSWD. So it has displayed the username and the user IDs only. Alright. I can specify any column, that is the cut command. I was waiting for this command, but this command is, I think, in next slide or maybe a few next command. So and the shell also I want to display, which is on the column number 8, I remember. Sorry, 7th column. So what I have now is I have the user IDs, a username, user ID, and the shell. But the problem is I want the user IDs into the ascending order of the column. Alright. So I want to specify the sorting order. So I can use this command followed by piping symbol followed by sort on which column I want to specify, that is key field. Key on which field I want to sort. I want to field on sort on second column. And what is the terminator is the colon. So this is how it will work. The terminator means the field separator in sort command. So now if you see, it has sorted, but it was not numeric sort, so I need to use -n also, and now it has sorted. See the difference. Let me show you both. I started from here. My first command was this: cut, extract columns, separator delimiter is colon. Cut command use the delimiter with -d. Which field I want? First, third and seventh. From which file? Passwd. Okay. Sort on which field? Sort on second field. What is the field separator? For sort command, the field separator is given by -t. Field separator is colon. So look at this. First value is 0, second value is 1 0 0 1 1, because it is alphabetical sort. 0 1 1, then 2 will come, right? It is not numeric sort. So to make it numeric, we have to use -n, and that is reflected here, -n. If you give -n, you see it is actually a numeric sort. So root 0 1 2 3 4, all the users are in sorted order. So cut command can be used to vertically cut the columns of a file. Sort command can be used to sort the file on a given field, numeric or alphabetical. You can specify the field separator. Alright. So that is the combination. Unique will find out the unique values. So they make it excellent combination if you try them together with sort command, with cut command, with this, right? So I have demonstrated sort command with -k and sort command with -n, sort command with -t, terminator, the field separator, and unique command to find the unique values. And cut command I just demonstrated. I was waiting for this command long back, but this command have just come now. So we have already done it. Vertically cut the content from a file, delimiter which field you want, and we have done that. However, if you want to specify the range of column, like column number 2 3 and 4, so you can specify 2-4 also, 2-4. So a range can also be specified. Alright. Formatting content with PR command. This is for the purpose of printing. Like if you want to send the output to a printer, then it is ls-l, and you want to display. Normal display will be very haphazard and it will not be very presentable. However, if you use PR command, you send the output to the PR command and you specify how many columns you want, and you want to specify header also. So -n, columns, -n will display the line numbers, and -i columns mean how many columns you want. -h means you want to specify the header. Let's take a look at this also. These are all good commands. These are all useful commands. Okay, so here we are, ls/etc folder. Look at, there are so many files are there, but no presentability, right? Look at this output. I cannot send this output to the printer, but if I use this with piping symbol okay, with PR command -n. See the difference? One second. PR-n hyphen columns is equal to 3. It has gone up, it has scrolled up here. Look at this here. So the first one, when we tried, the numbers were given. When you specify here, it starts from here. One second, it starts from here. So what you see is -n means the command numbers 1, 2, 3 line numbers are given here. Hyphen columns is equal to 3. 3 columns are displayed. And look at the proper header, proper page number. It is good for printing. And I want a title also on the top of it. So I can use -h. So let's use -h also. -h followed by the list of files in /etc folder. This is the header which I want. Alright, and let me make it more beautiful, presentable way. And now press enter key, and now you see the heading also. Look at this here. You see the headers, list of files in /etc, proper header, date, page number, and the presentable. So this is basically for printing. When you want to display the output of some command or some file with proper formatting for the purpose of printing, then you use this PR command. So PR is for that purpose. Telnet, Nmap, MUT, elinks, and LFTP. I demonstrated the command right in the beginning. So let's start with the Telnet. Telnet command is powerful tool. People who use Telnet to log in to remote servers do transmit their username and password and other commands in clear text format. What does it mean? You should never use it for remote servers. You should never try to connect to your production using Telnet command. That's the meaning. No, no, no. Then why do we study? Why we studying it? Because for local testing. If you have configured some service, we want to see the connectivity. It is good tool to verify the connectivity. Anyone with a protocol analyzer such as Wireshark can read the data fairly easily. So therefore it is not recommended for remote connections, though it is meant for remote connections. When we run locally, that is the purpose, and that's what we use for it. When we run locally, we can verify the operations of a given service with Telnet command. That's the purpose of Telnet. Like we have configured FTP server. We want to verify whether the Telnet service is running on port number 21 or not. So FTP servers run on port number 21. So we give the command telnet server port number. So you will get this kind of message, trying to this, connected to this, and now you can start typing the commands. So this verify that okay, our service is running and we are able to connect to the FTP service. That is what the purpose of telnet command is, and that's why we use it. For verifying any service on a given port, telnet command is a good tool for such verification that yes, service is indeed running on that given port. When the FTP server is not running, VS FTP server is not running, or had been configured to communicate on a port other than 21, you will get this kind of message, connection refused, right? And if there is no firewall, you will get the same result from the remote server. If the firewall is blocking port number 1 or port number 21, if the security is configured, firewall is configured, the message will be slightly different. That is no route to host. Service such as postfix email server can be by default configured to accept connection only from the local system. In that case, with or without firewall, you will get message connection refused when you are trying to connect to remote system. So telnet is a utility to connect, to verify the connection for a given service on a local system. Though you can try it on for a remote server also, but you should never use it. Nmap command, I demonstrated this command in the beginning. It is port scanning tool. but please be cautious about it. A very dangerous tool. Don't run it against Google or against public website, because look at this statement. The developers of this tool says that when used improperly, Nmap can get you sued, fired, expelled, jailed, or banned by your ISP. Man, why do we need it then? For ethical purpose, for our own purpose, not for production systems, not for live websites. So nevertheless, it is included in the standard RHEL repositories. As such, it is supported by Red Hat for the legal use. As long as you know what you are using it for, it is okay. It is a quick way to get view of services that are open locally and remotely. And that's what we saw on our system. And that's what I demonstrated like this. Nmap, localhost, and it showed me the port which were open. I tried for the Skillpedia also, I demonstrated for Skillpedia classes also, and I demonstrated for localhost also. So nmap command will give you the open ports. Email client MUT. I told you, I discussed MUT utility also, I demonstrated MUT also. So the command line is useful for testing and the functionality of standard email server. Again, the purpose is to testing the functionality of the server. The mail server is properly configured or not. For example, once a server is configured, the POP, that is post office protocol, email, even email that is delivered using near ubiquitous version 3, that is POP3, these are all mail server client. It can be checked with the command MUT. So MUT is a utility to check, send, receive mails. And here we specify -f POP protocol username at hostname. I did not specify anything. By default, if I am logged in as that user, I can directly start with anything. Simple MUT will work, and we demonstrated, we worked on that. The system keeps each user's mail in var mail directory, file associated with each username. User who read messages with mail facility can also reply, forward, and delete associated messages, which we studied. You remember, we deleted messages, we created a mail, we sent a mail, we read the mail. So MUT is for checking, verifying, reading, sending, receiving mails as a client on the CLI command line tool. And mail is also similar utility. Mail reader like MUT and mail, both can be used. Better purpose is MUT, which is give you some kind of screen and a proper way, and it display what commands to be given. Mail is not that user friendly. Like if you type mail followed by the username, it will display message subject. You type the subject and then it will not display anything. You are left to your own guessing. So the guess is basically what you have to type is you have to type the message whatever you want to send, and then to finish that message you have to type Control D. Mail is not that user friendly as compared to MUT. MUT is powerful and user friendly. Mail is not that user friendly. You need to some guessing work, or you need to practice and understand, learn the syntax of mail utility. However, both are used. Like mail -s, that is subject is host files, and you want to send this file etc host. So this is input redirection. So input redirection etc host, and to this user you want to send the file. So this is one way to send the file as an attachment to the user with a subject line. So this is the syntax of a mail utility, how to send messages using mail. Reading mail messages, I demonstrated with mail. You can use a D command to delete the message, right? So by default, mail system does not open for a user unless there is actual mail in the appropriate file. Once the mail system is open, user will see the list of new and already read messages. If you open the mail system for an account, you can enter the number of messages and press enter key. And this is what I saw. This is what I demonstrated. You type the number and you will read that message number. If you press enter with no argument, the mail utility assumes that you want to read the next unread message. To delete a message, single character D is sufficient, and D followed by the number will delete that message number which you type here. This hash is for the number. Mail messages can be read from user's specified file in the local var mail directory. Files in the directory are named after the associated username. So ultimately, the messages for a given user or mails for a given users are stored in the corresponding file under var mail directory. Let's take a look at this. By the way, mut utility store the messages in your home directory, not var mail directory. Let's take a look at the location of these mails. I missed that, so that's why I feel that let me demonstrate it where the messages are stored. Here this mail directory was created by mut, and in my case now messages are stored into mail directory here, but by default messages are under var mail, and here you find for every user we have a corresponding file, and the messages or your mails are stored into these files. Like if I type cat sang1, I'll see all messages for the user sang1, and you see this is the message. So directly you can use cat command, but never recommended, because you will not be able to parse it, you will not be able to understand it. That is the reason I suggest that you use a proper utility to read the messages. Okay, the text and graphical browser, that was elinks. I told you Linux include variety of graphical browsers. The problem in production is you don't have luxury of graphics GUI. Access of regular and secure website is available through their associated protocol HTTP and secure cousin HTTP secure HTTPS. The use of graphical browser should be trivial for any serious user of Linux, but you may not always have access to the GUI, especially when working on the servers or remote servers. Therefore, in that situation, the text browser work more quickly. The standard text browser for Red Hat is elinks. Once the package is installed, you can use it from the command line, and I have already demonstrated the elinks browser. Elinks, and I opened the google.com also. To to quit from that, and I told you first you need to press the escape key. So first press the escape key to access the menu bar, then press F for file, and then X to accept the prompt to exit from the browser. Q also can be used as a shortcut, and this is what I also showed to you and demonstrated you how to come out of it. And this is what the browser looked like when I opened it. If you remember that, I opened Google for this purpose. Using LFTP to access URLs. Original FTP client software was basic command line text oriented client application that offered simple but efficient interface. Most web browsers use graphical interface that can be also used as FTP client, and I demonstrated FileZilla for that GUI utility for FTP client connectivity. FTP, as I said again, represent file transfer protocol. Any FTP client allows you to view the directory tree and the files. Using FTP as a client is quite easy. You simply type FTP followed by the server to which you want to connect to. Using LFTP. LFTP is more secure, and by default it is not installed, so you have to install it. But that's one reason why LFTP is better. Okay, it automatically attempts an anonymous login without prompting for a username and password. It also supports command completion, which can especially help you to access files and directories with longer names. And there are risks with most FTP clients as they transmit data in clear text format. But as long as the usage of this command is limited to the public server, then it is okay. There is no risk involved, because the purpose of the public server is to distribute the files. So that's okay to transmit the data in text format. So syntax of connecting to the FTP server using LFTP. Is LFTP server name hyphen u username. Almost all commands from FTP prompts are run at remote host, similar to a telnet session. You can run regular shell command from that shell. Just start the command with exclamation mark. When you start the command with exclamation mark, that command will run on your local computer rather than remote computer. And this is the help. Like I type LFTP server name and you type help, and I demonstrate that you will see all the commands. And if you want to take help about any command, you can type the command followed by help. Alright, so you don't remember something, you can type help and CMD will yield a brief result, help followed by the command. Let's try once again what I was trying to convey. Let's take a look at this. LFTP ftp.redhat.com. Now help. I don't understand what is the put command is, so I want to take help about put command. So I type help followed by put. So it will give you the command put. Uses put opts file hyphen o write file. O file means remote file name. C means continue reput. E means delete local files after successful transfer, dangerous. A means ASCII mode of transformation. So same way get. I want to take help about get command. So copy file from remote system to local file. So this is what I was talking about, that help is a very good utility, and LFTP helps you to connect to the remote server and copy files from local to remote and remote to local. That's the purpose of LFTP. These are some of the commands which were given in the list. CD, change to the current working directory on the remote, remember remote. LS, list the files on the remote system. Get, receive file from the remote system to the local computer. Mget, retrieve multiple files from the remote system. Put, send a single file or upload a single file to the remote system. Mput, upload multiple files. PWD, present working directory at remote system. The commands CD, LS, and PWD, they are exactly same way used on your local system. But if you want to see the current directory of your local system while you are connected to FTP, you can use exclamation mark ls command. So this will list the files on your local computer or host computer, not the remote computer. CD, else, this is for change the local working directory. There is a exclamation mark. It is not LCD. I mean LCD or exclamation mark CD, right? And exclamation mark PWD, present working directory, and the current system. So these are the commands of this system. All right, FTP commands. And that's all for this session. Thank you so much for watching.